everybody, it's the guy Matt here, and welcome to some college football predictions I have for this season. So, I really don't have like a good shot or thing to do, so I'm just gonna leave it up here on ESPN. Credit to them for the website I'm using and for showing the rankings. The AP poll and the coaches poll, credit to both people who make those. None of us on the screen, so I'm just gonna give you some predictions on having the top 17 teams in the AP and coaches poll on the screen. So my predictions for today are gonna be who I think wins each conference and the conference title game in the Power 5, who makes the playoff, and I might throw a couple New Year's Six Bowls in there, who wins the Heisman, who wins each playoff game, and who wins the Natty this year. Starting off, we'll start the Pac-12, which scrap divisions that might not exist. I think, I think USC is gonna be good this year, and I'm gonna go out on a limb here. I think Oregon will be decent still, but I don't know how that loss to Georgia will affect them because I do think they will lose to Dan Lanning will lose to the Kobe Sun and the Bulldogs. So with no divisions, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say USC and Utah will face in the Pac-12 title game, or it will be USC and Oregon. I think Oregon-Utah November 19th, that game will decide which one of those teams plays USC in the Pac-12 title game, because USC avoids Oregon, and I think they can beat Utah, just UCLA's tough for the Trojans. And I think USC will win the Pac-12, unfortunately. I'm a Pac-12 guy. I hate USC and UCLA forever, but I'm not going to blind it to me. Back in January, when they got Caleb Williams, I believed that they would win the Pac-12 this year, and nothing changed my mind since then. Moving over to the Big 12 now. Now, I think Oklahoma's going to have a nice rebound year. As you can see in the rankings, they're up high over other teams. I like what Brent Venables does there. I saw Dylan Gabriel at the UCF in person a few times, and I think he's gonna be great at Oklahoma as long as they got receivers. And I like them to make it. Now, the second team is gonna be tough because you got Baylor, obviously, you got Oklahoma State, and then you got Texas. Now, Texas, I do think Texas will improve, but I don't think they're going to be Texas is back like they say every year, because they never are, just like Cowboys fans with the Super Bowl. Between Oklahoma State and Baylor, they split last season, so it's tough. I think it's being played in Oklahoma State this year, but even if it's in Baylor, I think we're going to have a bedlam showdown in the Big 12 title game. Give me Oklahoma versus Oklahoma State. Moving on now to the Big 10. In the Big Ten West, I'm not a believer in Minnesota this year. I don't know why some people are high on them, hey, they can do well this year. I think they'll hover around 500, 7-5, 6-6, 8-4 maybe. But they play Penn State on the road in the wideout game. Penn State, my favorite school. Ohio State, I think, is the only team that can win a wideout game in Happy Valley, in the Big Ten at least. And there's no way they're winning that one. I think Wisconsin's going to be mad last year after the X. I don't believe in Minnesota. Iowa, I think, is going to be decent this year. Like last year, always decent on the Cook Ferentz. I think it'll be having out the same season, but I think Wisconsin's going to beat them all out and win the Big Ten West. Oh, no, I forgot to say Big 12 title game. I think Oklahoma wins the Big 12, but in the Big 12, but in the Big 10 or Big 16, I should say now, with USC and UCLA, I like Wisconsin to win the West. Now the East is tough. Now I'm a Penn State fan, so I might be a little biased here, but for some reason this year I have a feeling that Penn State's gonna beat Ohio State this year. Michigan State, I think, is a hover around the same, but I do think they drop on the road to Penn State, and I do think they dropped a game to Ohio State. So that's two losses right there. I think Penn State loses to Michigan and wins the table otherwise. I think it's going to be Ohio State, but I don't think they'll win in Ann Arbor. So that leaves Penn State with one conference loss, Michigan State with two, because I think Michigan beat them, knocks them out. Ohio State, I think, loses to Penn State, like I said, and then I think Michigan drops one at some point, because that's just a hardball thing to do, setting up a one-loss matchup against Ohio State. Both teams with one loss, as the winner of that game could go to the Big Ten if Michigan State beats Penn State. Even though I think Michigan State beats Michigan, I believe, this year, and that's Michigan's one loss. But I think Ohio State will beat Michigan again, beat the game, and I know I'm probably called biased. I think Penn State wins the Big Ten East, and I think they go on and move to the Big Ten champions. But I don't know if they make the playoff. So we'll go to the ACC now. Now in the ACC, I'm not very familiar with divisions. If I'm being honest, I just know Clemson's good. I say Clemson wins their division. I think they beat NC State and Wake Forest right now in their division. So I think they make the title game, but I think Miami and Pitt are on the same division, and I think it's a dogfight between them, and I think Pitt edges out Miami, and Pitt loses to Clemson, and Clemson wins the ACC title. I think Clemson have a bounce back season. I'm not saying they're going to be dominant, but I think they'll bounce back. Now to the best conference in college football. We all know it is the SEC. SEC East, I think it's Georgia's lose. Florida's rebuilding. Tennessee, South Carolina, I don't think have what it takes to contend with Georgia. Not even Kentucky for that matter. I know Tennessee could be Kentucky, but I don't think. I'm not high on South Carolina this year in the East. I think they're gonna suck. Not suck, but like I don't think as good as people think they are. Tennessee, I think Josh Heupel has awful game decisions. I don't think he's to do that well. And Kentucky, I think has a certain ceiling there because it is a basketball school. No matter what the coach says, the basketball coach is right. Like there's definitely a ceiling there. I think Georgia's beats them. Florida's the only team that's been able to keep pace with them for the past 7-8 years, as far as I remember. And I don't see that changing this year. I think the dogs take the SECs. Meanwhile, in the SEC West, there's some schools that, well, like a lot of schools that can get dynamics it up. I think LSU's gonna be good this year, but I don't think they're gonna be worthy of winning the title. I think Ole Miss is gonna have a similar season to last, and probably lose to LSU if they didn't last year. I think they could lose to Auburn again. I think Auburn will be around 500 and still find out the coach. That leaves us with two teams that I can see can win the SEC West: Texas A&M and Alabama. And A&M did beat Bama last year, but it's in Bama this year. I know Nick Saban's mad about that loss. He doesn't like it. So I think Bama beats A&M and wins the table in the SEC, and I think A&M can drop another game to the SEC, or maybe not for the SEC title, but for the playoff. I think Texas A&M could lose to Miami, but I think they won't lose to Miami. I think they'll lose to Alabama and be a one-loss team in the SEC. And I think Bama beats Georgia in the SEC title game. So for the playoff now, that leaves us in an interesting scenario. So Alabama, I think, will get in, obviously. Alabama's my 1 seed for the playoff. For 2 seed, I'm going to go out on a limb and say Clemson. I think Clemson rebounds this year, if I'm being really honest. I have faith in Dabo Sweeney. I think DJ Ungo is not be good, but I think they have a special I think they could put in. And then I think Georgia has 1 loss to Alabama, so obviously we don't want to have a rematch. I think they throw Georgia against Clemson. Now for this last spot, it gets very difficult because I see a couple of teams. You have USC who Notre Dame, Texas A&M, and Penn State, all one-loss conference championships outside of Notre Dame. Now USC and Notre Dame playing the final good season. I'm going to talk about them first. I believe Notre Dame will drop it to USC. I believe USC will keep Notre Dame out of the playoff, as I believe Notre Dame will lose to Clemson early in the year. So that leaves us with USC, Texas A&M, and Penn State. Now Penn State, I believe, I'm a Penn State fan, but I don't think they'll give us the playoff nod. I think it's to go to USC, to Texas A&M. I think Texas A&M gets the playoff nod over Penn State, if I'm being honest. But I could see Ohio State getting in, so I'm just going to go out on a limb and say the Big Ten champion, who I think is Penn State, gets the 4 seed. And I have 1 Bama, 2 Clemson, 3 Georgia, and 4 Penn State, because I believe they won the Big Ten, but it could be any Big Ten team. If it's Ohio State, probably goes up higher. Oh, just because, like, the reason Georgia's not full, because, like, they don't have the same game. Alright. So, those are my predictions for the playoff. I'm not going to do any New Year's 6 Bowls. I changed my mind. But, yeah. For the Heisman, I think C.J. Stroud of Ohio State has a monster season and takes the Heisman. And, yeah. And then the Bowls, I think it will be Penn State because I don't, even if they win the Big Ten, I don't know if they can play. I'm gonna just say Penn State or Michigan or Ohio State, one of those three teams against Oregon in the Pac-12, against USC in the Pac-12, and I think the Big Ten wins it for the Rose Bowl. And then I don't think it's a semifinal game of Mighty Vote. I'm not sure. Actually, I think it is a semifinal game. Never mind. So I think Alabama and Georgia both win their games, setting up a national title. I like Alabama to win. Hope y'all enjoyed my cultural productions. I'll catch you guys later. Later, guys.